I will get my hair cut next week, but I want to tell you a funny story which happened to me way back in 1989, the beginning of January, in London. It was the year when I started to travel, and my first destination was the United States of Visa. Like the United States of America already had the visa. You needed a visa at that time. I was in London. It was a Sunday, possibly a Saturday, beginning of January, driving around in my 1969 Humber Sceptre. You can see some of the pictures behind me. It was a really old car. I bought it for £100, like $150 at the time, to get me to A to B. In fact, the insurance was more expensive. One of my friends had bought me a couple of weeks before, for Christmas, for fun, a M15 water gun, water pistol, looked like this. And my friend and I thought it would be hilarious if we went into the centre of London and started squirting people and seeing how their reaction is when they get wet. Where did the water come from? It was a dry night, again a Sunday, and it was in the time in the United Kingdom where beginning of January was the January sales, where you could get these great bargains like 50% off. The days when Sunday London was near enough closed, apart from entertainment venues and one or two possible 7-Elevens that had just started up in London. So squirting in this 1969 green Humber Sceptre with a vinyl roof. Now that's quite important. Now, remember in those days the IRA were about, and bombings in London were quite common. You just got used to it. I was 20 years old at the time. I'm going to cut the story short. I was driving after going to the cinema to see a movie with my friend and to have a Ruby Murray, which is a curry. So it must have been about 12 o'clock when I was driving along the Bayswater Road. The Bayswater Road is one of the roads that goes past Hyde Park. And suddenly I noticed a police car behind me. And I wasn't doing anything wrong, but I was so paranoid, I did actually jump at a red light because I was paranoid. And they kept on following us. Eventually, after maybe about 2 or 3 miles, I pulled over. My friend, before this, he actually hid the water pistol in the back seat of the car. And just because we thought maybe something had gone wrong, they may think it was that, we stopped the car outside what we thought was a kebab shop. We said we're going to get something to eat, but it wasn't a kebab shop, it was a barber's shop. It was just the lights that looked like a kebab shop. Within 30 seconds of stopping the car, my head was on the bonnet or the front of the car with handcuffs tied around me on the back like this. And in the space of about another minute, about another 20 police cars came. And following that, we did actually have 2 helicopters circling overhead. And were pulled into a police van, and we discovered later in the police station, Notting Hill police station, nothing to do with Hugh Grant, that we were going to be arrested for a possession of a weapon, this M15 water pistol. And I had the whole of the London Met police force, Scotland Yard, looking for me for the whole evening. They couldn't find me basically because the car was green and the roof was vinyl. So when they were searching helicopter, they couldn't see it because it was a vinyl top. That night we did spend a night in jail. Luckily it wasn't very busy. I actually ended up in a woman's cell. And the next morning we were interviewed by CID, the detectives, and said, what's going to happen is you're going to go to court the next day and you're going to be bound over to keep the peace for 1 year. And then you'll be set free. Now, I actually did inquire, would this affect my visa status for the United States? They said no, and the next day, so on the way back, we picked up the car and we could not stop laughing. The car was stripped from head to toe. They said they searched it thoroughly. Couldn't find anything. Well, there was nothing there anyhow. The next day, we actually went back into London. We went into the Notting Hill courtrooms, and the judge basically said you're going to be bound over for a year for possession of a water pistol. The whole court laughed out loud and thought it was hilarious. And these two Muppets, my friend and I, with our heads down, just thought it was sort of like, well, at least we're not going to the Nick, we're not going to go to prison. And all we need to do is keep the peace for 1 year, but it doesn't matter because we're going to America anyhow. It's a funny story, and I look back at this and go, what an idiot I was. But the actual laughs that I got from afterwards, and if anyone is watching from that time, from 1989, who suddenly got wet in London, central London, like Oxford Street, Oxford Circus, Piccadilly, around that area, I apologise for getting you wet, but it was hilarious. So this was the time I was nicked by the old Bill. This was the time I was arrested by the London police force for possession of a water pistol. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this little ditty. Bye-bye for now.